All right. Good afternoon, Coach Leach. Thanks for joining us.
All right.
And we will start off with a question from Ben Portnoy.
Mike, I know you guys still got a couple of weeks left in terms of games, but at this point, do you feel like your team, whether it's 2, 3, 4 wins, is going to accept a bowl bid?
I certainly would be in favor of it. I want to play as many games as we can. I mean, we got a young team, and the more practice, the more work we get, the better, the way I look at it.
Next, we will go to Joel Coleman.
Hey, Mike, obviously, I know you can't talk into any specifics on this sort of thing, but crazy times right now with the signing day a little over a week away. With all the, I guess, no visits and the chaos it's kind of been this year, a lot going on right now too. Just kind of what's it been like for you recruiting this cycle, and I guess kind of what's it like behind the scenes right now amongst you coaches?
I think the same thing that's most important about that's always most important about recruiting is important this time, which is persistence. I've always thought the most important thing on recruiting is persistence. And I've had the really sharp, flashy car salesman looking guys where you're thinking, oh, geez, this guy'd be a great recruiter, and he's only an average recruiter. And then I've had the guys sort of the dour, sort of quiet guy that's a great recruiter and you'd think would be a lousy one. And the one thing that good ones all have in common is persistent. And I think we have a pretty persistent staff. I think we've done a good job of that. But what you're working against is I think there's an incredibly great product here at Mississippi State. I think when people come to Starkville and get on campus, I think they really get excited. And I think that really elevates our opportunity to get a guy. I would say that recruiting's going quite well. I mean, we always want to be better at it, but at this point, I think we're a little ahead of schedule. I think that it's been a whole lot of talk on the phone, show pictures, try to figure out people that they know in common with people that we might have here, people that we've coached before. But it has gone quite well. And I think that, but it has been a strange dynamic. I mean, because the biggest, most important thing to selling your institution or selling yourself and your coaches is to meet people face to face. So the single most important thing, they've taken away. And so, so that I think has been a bit of a battle, but I think then again, persistent, selling what you have, selling the opportunities that you see, and see if it meets everybody's needs. I mean, it's a good deal's one where it helps everybody. So I think that the more you can illustrate that. So
Next, we'll go to Daniel Black.
Coach, despite being losses, do you think that the strong performances in the last two games have created a renewed sense of confidence and positive momentum in the players and the program as a whole?
I think we've been generally positive the whole time. I think that, yes, we have had reduced numbers, but I don't think that's really diminished our desire to play. It's diminished some of our advantage, perhaps, but not our desire to play and improve our skills. So I think that, we have a pretty good nucleus of guys that way.
Next, we'll go to Tyler Horka.
Like, kind of going off of that question, obviously you guys have played a little better, but they've both been losses. What do you think a win over a program like Auburn, and then I know you don't like to look ahead, but you got another opportunity at home against Missouri, 2 home games to finish out the season, getting a win or 2 in those games, what do you think it would do for the program going into the offseason?
Well, I think the most important thing for us to do is to be the best team we can be. I mean, that's what we got control over, and we got to be the best that we can be. And we've got, we've got kind of a thin squad, but we got to put people into the positions that I think can help move the team the best, but also can, elevate their abilities. Because we've got a lot of young guys that are going to do a lot of great things. But if it was such a great idea to play true freshmen, everybody would do it. So And I've never played this many freshmen before, but it's kind of fun. I could get used to it. I mean, it's exciting to, it ticks you off when you see some mistake out there or something, but then all of a sudden you see some guy that's supposed to be in high school or going to the prom a few months ago, all of a sudden do something, pretty great against Georgia or something like that. So it's it's fulfilling too.
Next, we'll go back to Ben Portnoy.
Mike, we saw that KJ was selected to the East-West Shrine game today. Is the assumption that he won't use that extra year of eligibility and this will be his 1 year at Mississippi State?
Not sure yet. I think that's still in the works. I'm not sure yet.
Next, we'll go to John Sokolov.
Hey, Mike, how would you say Will has kind of progressed recently? And what do you kind of want to see from him in these last two games? How do you kind of want to see him elevate his game?
I think he's gotten progressively better. I think he's got to keep improving. I think I do think he's ahead of schedule. I think he's better than I would have expected. I think that really just overall, it's not like there's one big thing. It's more like just more polished, more everything quicker and smoother and more precise, and then the ability to do it more times in a row, really. Yeah, I think he's played quite courageous, quite well for a guy his age.
And following up on the whole freshman deal, you just mentioned with Tyler's question about you don't remember having to play this many freshmen. You said it's been kind of fun, but can you kind of elaborate on what that experience has kind of been like for you? And has that made it one of your tougher years coaching, considering all the youth that you've had?
I think it's been tough, and then it's been inconsistent as far as who was available, with all the tests and everything. And so then we have all these thresholds, and we've been well below the threshold the last two games. But despite that, I'd rather, play and go out there and you practice all year long to play. And so I am glad we get to play, but and then who plays where is a combination of who's the best. I mean, if the young guy's the best, you play him. But then other situations have happened where, all of a sudden you get test results Thursday, and without going into much detail, they eliminated a whole position for us, whole position gone. And then so on Friday, we had to devise how we were going to plug that hole, and they'd still played, admirably, but not as good as we could have, I don't think. But, you just kind of roll with it. I mean, with all the things going on this year, and then, and there's plenty of forces out there trying to make it as joyless as possible. You try to lock into your day job and what you're doing on an individual level with the players and see how much you can elevate them and their abilities.
And the last one from me, you kind of mentioning the threshold there, and with, COVID-19 and the cases really spiking in Mississippi, would you say your level of concern within the virus and, more of your guys getting it, like, would you say your concern has risen a lot lately?
I've always had the concern. I've always also taken a certain amount of comfort, though no college athletes have been hospitalized. And so I think that's pretty good too. I mean, we've had them hospitalized for other things, but not for COVID. So, I think that part is encouraging.
Next, we'll go to Robby Falk.
Hey, Coach, you mentioned briefly talking about your staff, your assistant coaches, and their recruiting and what they've done so far. I'm interested in your thoughts on the evolution of the off the field recruiters and the guys that do a lot of work behind the scenes, and your thoughts on this group that you have here.
I think I don't know about the evolution. I mean, that goes way back, and I don't know where to start with that, but I don't know the evolution of it completely myself. I mean, I was there when it happened, but I think it's the type of thing that, the NCAA narrowed everything down to 2 GAs. Then everybody needed and wanted more help. And then, so they added one piece at a time, and this guy can do this and that guy can't type of thing. And then I think it's just evolved. Okay. As far as that's what I know about the evolution, and that's not a very good answer. You can probably find somebody that follows that or cares about it more than I do. But as far as I think they do a good job. I think they do a real good job here. I think they're diligent. The other thing is, I think that they're pretty smart and well informed. I think they're reasonably good evaluators, and that's one problem. And even, I mean, 10 full-time coaches, put a pile of guys in the room and evaluate, and that's where most of the discussions take place. Where people, they always say, I'm going to stand on the table for this. I've never really seen that stand on the table. Most of the coaches I know would break the damn table if they stood on the table, but I'm going to stand on the table for this guy. Yeah, and next time we get into that, I'm going to make the guy stand on the table. I'm going to make sure it's an old table, but he has to stand on it. So then but it's the evaluation. And I felt like our guys here evaluate pretty well because, like I say, you get a room full of 10 coaches. I guarantee you 2 or 3 of them don't evaluate that well. They may be fantastic coaches, fantastic recruiters, but they don't evaluate that well. I felt like they evaluate pretty well here.
A quick follow-up. Have you had to rely on that group a little more than you have in the past due to, just the season being pushed back a little more into signing day and your guys having to focus more on the field, or has it been about the
Not
same?
so much this time of year, but when we first got here, absolutely. When we first got here, absolutely. Because that the foundation of that class, was created and held together by those guys. And I think that, because we're just walking through the door and trying to get pointed the right direction, and so then this class has been, more of a comprehensive effort with everybody involved. And it does kind of vary, as far as researching and calling recruits. I mean, it's not as productive a time as I'd like to see, but it is the type of thing where all of a sudden, okay, everybody's off this week. All right, call all your recruits, So it hasn't been a lack of time. It's been a lack of contact and hands-on, show somebody around type of deal.
Next, we'll go back to Joel Coleman.
Mike, you mentioned some of this a little bit earlier, but you guys have obviously been shorthanded for, I guess a month or so now, it seems like. But going into this Saturday, I don't know if you know what you have from a numbers perspective, but are you as close to full strength as you've been since maybe, mid-October, late October sometime?
No, I don't think so. I think we're pretty similar what we've been the last 2 weeks before, is what I think. The other thing is there's definitely the ambush factor of this stuff. I mean, this thing, you feel like it's used like a time bomb a little bit,
We'll throw it back to Tyler Horka.
Obviously, we've mentioned the numbers a lot, and you said earlier that a whole position group was almost wiped out days before a game. So I'm just curious, we've seen all these other cancellations. What has gone into the decision to play these games? Is it as simple as you guys wanting to play a game? And then on the flip side of that, what would it take to call a game off for you guys?
Well, both are good questions, and both I don't completely know the answer to. I've been glad that we played because, like I say, I mean, we're not going to get any better here unless we play. And I do know that we're going to take some licks too, Yeah, you march into Athens with 43 scholarship guys, and here we go. But we got better as a team. I'm disappointed we didn't win, and it was there. It was right in our hands. We could have won that. And I think we should have won it. But we definitely got better that week, and we improved that week. And I was really proud of the effort of our guys, probably as proud as I've been of any team I've ever coached. Even, a lot of times people get result determinative, but there's a point to where, what was accomplished with what you had to do it with. And I think that was a night of high accomplishment, at least with regard to, the teams over the years I've had the chance to have experience with. So, on the one hand, there's get better, and then and improve. And this is going to be a unique year, no matter what happens. And I think whatever time we do have, we need to utilize it to get as good as we possibly can.
And just a quick follow up to that, how much say would you say that you have in determining, whether you're going to play on Saturday with these low numbers, or is it kind of out of your hands?
It's pretty much out of my hands, honestly.
Last question will go to Joel Coleman.
Mike, we just learned a little bit ago that you guys are going to honor your seniors this week on Saturday against Auburn. I guess kind of like you were mentioning earlier, I know you had to lean a lot on some of the off-field guys in recruiting when you first got here, but on the field this year, and as this staff has transitioned to this year, who has kind of stood out to you in that senior class? Who's kind of meant a lot to you, and just what has that group, Kobe and some of those guys, meant to this season this year and to your staff transitioning here at Mississippi State?
Well, I think they've done a great job. I think they've done a great job. Kobe and Errol are the guys that, really jump to mind. And it's, it's easy to leave guys out if I don't have a list in front of me. But I guess I've really felt the presence of Kobe in particular. And then also Errol with regard to just, energy and focus on our team, just really being committed to our task and what we're doing. I would say is who I felt the most influence from, and I get really outstanding to the point that that I hope they come back and all these guys. I hope they come back, and then of course we'll look at it when the time comes.
Great. Thanks a lot for your time today, Coach.
All right. Thanks.